Hey, okay, this is what I want to do is I guess you would call it like character analysis. You know, I'm not as familiar with doing stuff like this, but I know that people will take a character and like over analyze everything about a character. I mean, people have backstories for minor characters in movies, video games, you name it. And it's like, when did that happen? There, when I was in a Discord with Newsies fans and they're giving these characters names, I'm like, but they don't have, okay, they do now. Okay. That's what I mean. Okay. I could do that with my own characters. And I've kind of done it here because I have videos of looking at my old uh fan fiction and everything. We've made fun of it and everything. But here's the thing is with Legend of Zelda, the 40th anniversary, especially with Link, I know I'm gonna have to do that. But I wanted a practice run. So I thought with Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, we would kind of look over these characters that we've known since 1992. And I actually have notes. I sat down, but this is going to be a two-parter. Um, because that's all my note taking would do for right now. Oh my goodness. The first half is going to be basically looking at characters that show up what I call the introduction before you break off into whatever path you decide. And then the second half is going to be those characters that show up in those paths. Okay. And we'll probably kind of nitpick on some of the characters that we talk about tonight. Okay. Because they will show up. Okay. I mean, like, we're going to start off right out the gate with Klaus Kerner. Okay. And, well, actually, let's touch on two of the characters that actually show up in the movie. So, Indiana Jones and Marcus Brody. I mean, pretty much, I mean, Indiana Jones and Marcus Brody we see in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I mean, this one, at least you have voice acting. And quite honestly, the voice actor, I can't come up with his name off the top of my head, but the voice actor for Indiana Jones, I mean, even in 1992, people thought that that was Harrison Ford. Now, he did come back for Infernal Machine, but not for Emperor's Tomb. Okay. Now, as for Marcus Brody, I mean, I'm not going to say much for the voice because, voice actors are just doing their job. But, you know, I appreciate that they put Marcus Brody in the game, in this particular game. And they didn't have to do that really, but they did. We all like Marcus Brody. We really do. Um, Now, one thing I do want to say is with Indiana Jones in this game, he has more of a comical side. And I mean, like sarcasm you expect with Indiana Jones. You see it in the movies. And, but in this one, especially there's that scene where he and Sophia are at Barnett College to find the lost dialogue of Plato. And she says, well, do you need help? And he says, yes, please. It's scary in here. That kind of thing. Some of the things that some of the choices are just dripping with sarcasm. Okay. And you have to understand that this came out right before the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. So my theory, heavy theory here, is they made him that way because of how they were going to portray young Indiana Jones. I don't know why they would do that, but I mean, you were going to see 8-year-old Indiana Jones and then teenager Indiana Jones. So, I mean, I have the series. So, yeah, you were going to see young Indiana Jones, 8-year-old Indiana Jones, and he's mischievous. He likes to mess with his dad, you know? And then teenager Indy, of course, he fights with his dad. So, but we already got that. And, but we get a lot more of it in yeah, I absolutely adore Young Indiana. I just wish that they hadn't removed the old man because I remember watching it and the old man, he something would happen in our time, in 1992, and he would say, "Well, this reminds me of something that happened," and then he would go into, nostalgia and all that. So basically, in a nutshell, that's Indiana Jones and Marcus Brody in the game. There's really not much to say about Marcus Brody in the game. Um, I know that some people are like, well, how come he has dark hair? Doesn't he have lighter hair? I can't remember if he has lighter hair in them. But when I was looking at some pictures, which we're going to have pictures, and I found a gameplay. I thought that got lost, but no, I have a gameplay, so we'll be looking at some video clips. But it turns out that I think they used dark hair for him because he's right next to the shelves. And so if they had used light hair, his head would have just blended in with the shelves. So I think it was for the color palette. And so he didn't it's, it would not be a headless horseman kind of a deal thing. Yeah. So I think that's the only reason why. But anyway, so the next person to talk about is Klaus Kerner, and I have a lot to say.
I'm back. Indy? You don't look at all well, Dr. Jones. Exploring our collections can be dangerous, Mr. What was your name again?
Smith.
About Klaus. More than I expected, honestly. Okay, so let me get this here real quick. Okay. Now, of course, we see the screenshot where he left his passport and they show, the picture of him and everything. Some of the things that it said, because it's really quick, but I'll have again screenshots and everything. And it says that he's from Dusseldorf, Germany. He was born August 23rd, 1899. So he's the same age as Indiana Jones. Now, this game was set or is set in 1939. I had to check that. And so he died at age 40. And, yeah, and of course he's an agent for yeah, for a particular party. And I got to be careful because I don't want YouTube to hurt me lots. Now, when we are introduced to him, he is wearing this coat. All right. And now I can't remember when I did it. May have been when we were on lockdown, or it could have been 2021. And I sat down and I reacted to my gameplay. I think it's still up. I don't think I took that one down. And I may have talked about this before. Something about, did they do a screening at this college? Because here he is. It looks like he's wearing like a medical professor's coat. Okay, so what did he say to to Marcus Brody, for Marcus to call up Indiana Jones and say, I have a client that, and we need to go through our archives in the most Indiana Jones way possible, you know? And because, I mean, he could have just showed up in a suit. Because in the passport picture, he's wearing a suit. You could see that he's wearing like a three-piece suit, a suit and tie. I don't understand why he had to wear this coat, this white coat. What's going on? So did he pretend to be some kind of professor? I don't know of any archaeologists that would wear something because again, this is like in 1939. People were traveling to do because of course when King Tut King Tut's tomb was found, of course everybody wanted to jump on that, and so they were doing the whole safari outfit thing, and yeah, I would think, and we'll get to that guy in a minute, and I and that's the other thing. How did he know that this statue was at the college? You know, for all they know, it could have been at Indy's house because, of course, he had that copy of National Archaeology. Okay. Now, I said before in that reaction, there were so many times where I said that there had to be something between Kerner and Sophia. She was thrown in that chasm.
Hey, down there!
Indy, is that you? I was asleep.
What a strange echo. It sounds just like Sophia.
Ha ha, I'm laughing. Now get me out of here!
Okay, sit tight.
Thanks.
I guess you finally got on Kerner's nerves, huh?
I don't want to talk about it.
You look, first of all, they said it's an old copy of National Archaeology. And you look, and of course, Indiana Jones' name is circled, but there's there's like an arrow pointing to her. There's like circles and there's an exclamation point. There's more red marks for her than there are for Indiana Jones. Um, so the other thing is that, of course, because she's in denial of all of this, go ahead, blame it all on me.
But why did these beings show up here?
I am convinced that these travelers came to Earth to form colonies like Atlantis, using Hyperborea as a spaceport. Up north here, we're close to the ether. It's a perfect landing site.
So what's the link between Hyperborea and Atlantis?
Right, the Yastro expedition, the one you both worked on. Recently I saw pieces from it, pieces that are clearly Atlantean.
I see. Somebody must have been selling them.
Go ahead, blame it all on me.
I used to think you'd make a good scientist. Yet you've been dealing goods on the black market. Artifacts such as archaeology has never seen.
When Indiana Jones reunites with Sophia and talks about how she's selling things on the black market, all these artifacts and everything, and she's like, "Well, so what if I kept a few pieces for myself?" Yeah, say it like that. Okay. Is it possible that Klaus Kerner knew her through selling things on the black market? Is that why he took this job? Is that why he took this spy job? Because he's like, I know, I know, I know exactly who to go to. And that's why he was circling and exclamations and all of this stuff. Was he part of that dig, maybe? That was another thing that I thought of. Uh, Part of the Jastro expedition? Is it possible that he was there? Because it couldn't have been just Indy and Sophia. There had to be an entire team. Could he have been a part of it before? Yeah, because Indy said that it was his first real job. And Sophia was this spoiled rich girl from Boston who was rebelling against her family. And that's another thing. So she's rebelling, and I don't think Indy was the the only one. She was, yeah. Anyway, one of the things that she says,
Among the artifacts that Kerner stole was a small stone disc with a hole in it. I'm sure it was one of the 3 stones mentioned in Plato's book. And I didn't find it. I bought it from Alain Trottier in Monte Carlo.
Why should he help us?
Or was it Omar Al-Jabbar in Algiers? Either way, Algiers or Monte Carlo. This much I do know.
they're in Monte Carlo. She and Indy are in Monte Carlo to meet with Trottier, and she says, I never actually met him. We did all our communication through mail. So that also gets me to wondering about the whole thing with the black market. The whole black market thing with her and I'm sorry, I can't get past this whole thing with Sophia and Kerner. I mean, before it was like, was there a romantic thing that happened to him? And I'm not going to set that aside. But because of this whole thing with the National Archaeology magazine, yeah, sure, Indy's name is circled, but why is it like more with Sophia? Because Sophia left archaeology to be a psychic. I would think that Kerner would focus more on Indiana Jones. Okay. Now, okay, because that I kind of went back and forth here with the whole thing. Okay, so you think of the statue, and like I said, what did he say for that search to happen and all of that? And because like I said, it could have been at Indy's house. For all we know, it could have been over there. You know, in Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade, they ransacked his dad's house. So how come that didn't happen? A lot of ransacking going on. If you're a friend of Indy, if you're associated with Indy, but his house is never ransacked. What the hell? What's, what's that about? Okay. And of all places, This college really needs to be investigated because you got priceless artifacts just in the basement in a janitor's locker. But beyond that, when Kerner ran off, okay, they had the scuffle in Indy's office. He runs off and he has the statue, but he also has that orichalcum bead. Okay, so he has the bead and he has that statue. So why exactly did he go to Sophia? What was he planning on kidnapping her? Why didn't he just run on stage and grab her? Because he was afraid of Biff? And we'll talk about him in a second. But that doesn't make sense. I mean, he obviously didn't grab anything in Sophia's. I realized that when I was watching the gameplay because she says, "Look for a small coppery bead in my desk."
So what if I kept a few pieces for myself? Look for a small coppery bead under those clippings in my desk.
What do you know?
Kerner missed the grand prize.
What?
My necklace.
So he, Kerner ransacks the living hell out of her office for why? And because he already had the statue. So why did he go to New York? He had the statue, he had the bead. Why did he go to New York? Why? The only thing I could think was that he was looking for her necklace in there because she does say Kerner missed the grand prize, my necklace. Okay, so is that what he was going for? But the thing that doesn't make sense is that he says we have found the treasure we seek. So was it the statue? What? Or okay. Now, when it comes, okay, I will say this. I firmly believe that he was the connection to Omar and Trottier. He also had a connection to Omar and Trottier in some way, shape, or form. Because no matter what um path you're on, I mean, like in the team's path, Omar was mad that the the bad guys that um Klaus Kerner's men were at his dig site. Yeah, they're not supposed to be there. Why are they taking up space over there? And and uh and that's one of the reasons why Indy and Sophia go out there, you know, take his two camels and then come back, remember? And you also have where there was the attempted seance with Sophia in the Woods Path. And of course, there's the car chase. I mean, they knew exactly where to find him. So they take the that and and I was watching my old gameplay that I had recorded, and I was looking at each path, and I was like, okay, yeah, Sophia knew these two fellas, but who else would have known? Why is it that, because it's not that Klaus is following them because they seem to be behind him. So obviously, so I really do believe that he is part of this black market thing that Sophia was a part of when she was selling stuff like with Omar and Trottier and all that. I think he was a part of it too. And was he a part of the Jastro expedition? Who knows? I mean, why does he have an old copy of National Archaeology that shows Indy and Sophia? Why? Yeah. I mean, was it an old flame? I don't know. Because I gotta tell you something. He has no problem game overing Indy. There's a point, after you find that room in the labyrinth that has everything set out and you use all three stones. And I don't remember which path it is. It might be the team's path, but and you walk in to this one room and then all of a sudden you hear Kerner's name and Kerner's like, "We have her," and he says, "Now hand over," Kerner says, "Now hand over the stones. If you choose to say over my dead body, yeah." Kerner's pretty much like challenge accepted. Guess what happens? Yeah. He doesn't care. You know, he's you know, Indy's a an obstacle, you know. Why does Indy keep chasing? Yes, whatever. But this is the funny part is he won't do that with Sophia. Not that I really want, because there was also the part in Fifth Path. And the Fifth Path, when, of course, he bought off the captain with the fishing boat, and he just cut off Indy's air supply, and he says now he's a dead man. Yeah, dude doesn't care. Klaus Kerner he, just, he really does not care. But here's the thing: is that he will not get rid of Sophia. Okay, he kidnapped her. He has held her at gunpoint. He used her for a seance. He even told his men that she was a foreign advisor. You remember that part in the Fifth Path? Yeah. Threw her into a chasm and had his men watch over her. And and that's when Indy finds her and says, "You must have really upset him." And she's like, "I don't want to talk about it. What's going on?" And then when they get to Atlantis, when you get there with Sophia, they kidnap her again and throw her in the dungeon room. Good heavens. You would think, and there is at one point where, she's mouthing off to him and Klaus Kerner says, Jones is a better man than I thought if he has to deal with her. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Now let's talk about um Kerner and the orichalcum nonsense. Okay. So when he shows Uberman, which we'll talk about next. So he shows Uberman the statue and um and the bead, puts the bead in the or in the statue's mouth, and it goes around, and he's like, "You saw that?" And he talks about using the bead to operate trucks and tanks and airplanes, and of course Uberman says what he does about even bombs. Here's my question. All right, why, with all of that hype of using it for all that stuff, especially the bombs, you stockpile on these orichalcum beads. Why not just leave after that? You know how to get back there, so why not just leave? They couldn't. Uh, no, it couldn't do that, and that was his downfall. Oh my gosh, it. They they did. Why? Oh man, they had. There were okay. So at the beginning, he says, "You did you find a lock to match my key?" Where did he find this thing? Because of course you have that animation where Indy puts that thing into the statue and it reveals he had the lower section that opened the statue and revealed the orichalcum bead.
What are you waiting for? Let's open it.
Why not? It's an obvious fake.
You may think so, Doctor, but I believe we are opening a new chapter in history.
My word, Indy, a small metal bead. Jewelry, perhaps?
Okay. Where did he find that? Where on earth did Klaus Kerner find it? Because as far as he knew, that was just a hunk of metal. And how did he know? I mean, was that part of the black market? And how did he know what it went to? I mean, it's not like there would be any kind of ancient book. It's not like Homer would actually say, well, you do this with this thing and you do this with the thing. No, I don't believe that that would be. I don't believe that there are any hieroglyphs on any kind or any murals or anything like that that would actually say that this is how you do the thing. No, I don't believe that. As far as he knew, it was just a thing. Because, okay, let's see if I have a picture here. Well, there's that one. But yeah, I mean, see if I can find one where it shows. Yeah, go down a little bit. I already looked at that one. Yeah, it just shows the statue, okay? And then you see where he puts the thing in, turns, and then, I mean, how did he know that it was what it was for? I mean, for gosh sakes, there's artifacts that I'm sure were important in ancient times, but as far as we know, they're just hunks of metal. Yeah, we don't know what they are. Uh, Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. How did Klaus Kerner know what it was? And then he kept going around, like I said before, because I have it written here. He goes to the phone and he says, "We found the treasure we seek." He had the bead already, and he didn't take the bead out of her desk. So was the treasure Sophia? Was he trying to find her necklace? Uh, I do have a question because there was another one that I mentioned in my notes. I want to mention it now because yeah, who was it? It was Costa. Because Costa was another one that wanted her necklace. And he's his certain necklace that I heard about. And it got me to wondering during her lectures, did she use that necklace and so, to kind of show off a little bit in her show? Because I mean, how else did these people know about the necklace? When Costa's bringing it up and everything, yeah, it had to be that that was a big question that I had. And if so, how did she get more beads? Uh, it's not like they're just lying around or anything like that. So anyway, yeah. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much Klaus Kerner. When I was searching up him and everything, it's like, okay, so is I do believe that he and Sophia crossed paths before, maybe romantic, maybe it's just black market trading. Um, you know, I'll put that little nugget in there because before it was just simply romantic, but now I think it's just black market trading. I mean, he is a spy that's working for a particular party, but with all of this stuff, like I said, he could have just gone to Indy's house and ransacked. Why did he go to Sophia's office and ransack? The what did he ransack? Why did he go to New York? Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk about Hans Uberman really quick. So he's a German scientist, and in the game it says that Germany won the race in smashing the uranium atom. Sophia shows the newspaper, it talks about that, and that he also plans to harness new sources of energy for a certain party. Again, I have to use my wording correctly, so that YouTube doesn't hurt me. So, is he loyal to the cause or is he loyal to himself? I don't know. Is he a good little German? Oh my gosh. Again, this was set in 1939. Okay, let's just put it that way. Um, Now, of course, this new source of energy, I'm sure we've figured out, is orichalcum. Now, as I was going through and watching my old gameplay, especially that cut scene, that first cut scene with him and Kerner when Kerner brings the relic, the statue, I mean, and when he says that prehistoric knickknack, this it's funny that he says that because it's obvious that he's knowledgeable in Plato's writing. Okay, but I'm not sure why he has a problem with this statue because as you watch, you notice that he's the one. I'm not sure if he called Klaus Kerner specifically because of, like I said, black market, black market relics, or because he knew people in the black market, maybe Omar and all that, or even the idea of being able to get in contact with Sophia Hapgood because of her connection with Atlantis. Okay. And who knows? Whatever, But the thing is that statue was stolen before, okay, hear me out now. The statue was stolen before, uh, as far as we know, stolen before they went to, before going to TCal. Okay. Now, again, Kerner is like several steps ahead of Indy and Sophia. Yeah. So it could be that he picked up the book long before and yeah, who knows? Of course, I don't know how the statue has anything to do with it. I don't know. But 'cause it doesn't talk about the statue anywhere. It really doesn't. And but he also makes it clear uh Uberman says that they will need Sophie in the Lost City. So he does save her life when when Kerner is getting so fed up, that's on Thera. He's getting so damn fed up with, with Sophia that he pulls a gun on her and he's like, "No, we'll need her in the Lost City."
Oh, no, you don't. I've had enough.
Please, madame, let's try to be civilized about this, shall we?
Connor, don't shoot her! We may need her in the Lost City.
Don't tempt me.
No. Oh my gosh. So he's the one that says, think of, when Klaus Kerner is saying, you think of tanks, think of trucks, think of airplanes with running on orichalcum. And he says, think big, think of bombs, and I'm telling you, they stockpiled on orichalcum. Why not leave and just go with that? Okay. You know where Atlantis is. You can take your submarine and come back down here. No, they couldn't do that. The idea of goddom went to their heads, literally. Yeah. It's just honestly, the signs were all there. And you saw these deformed bones everywhere. And talking with, I'm not sure if they did talking to other people, which we'll see in a minute. But basically, it's like this big denial, and you don't want to see it because, like he said, experiments gone awry. It's progress, whatever. And now I was also noticing, I don't know if anyone else caught on to this, but and it's funny how I understand that it's a video game, these are pixelations and everything, but you can tell that there are times where Kerner is so damn done with Uberman. And it really comes out at the end where he says, "I'm in charge, you spineless sausage." He's done with it. He wanted to shoot Sophia a long time ago, and he didn't get that chance. And, and quite frankly, I feel bad for Kerner. I really do. You know, so many times when you see him in the game and he pushes his hair back and comes back over, it's like you feel the frustration. It's like, you poor dude. Yeah. He just, he had a mission and it's not going so well. Damn it. Okay. So that's the bad guys. Okay. Um, yeah, honestly, I gotta be honest, I like Kerner as a bad guy. I really do. Klaus Kerner is one of those bad guys in a video game that I think is is a perfect bad guy. Okay, I even with the party that he works for and everything, he's that particular spy and everything, but it's the things that he says. It's I love and the fact that he wants to solve everything by just guns blazing, it's he has no shame. It is what it is. Anyway. All right. So now this is this one people are gonna question me, but okay. So Indy goes to New York, and the first one that he talks to is actually the ticket booth lady. Now, the reason that I want to talk about the ticket booth lady is because all those years of dance, okay, and I was in a couple plays as well, and especially in a local setting, okay, because here in a small town, local plays, everybody helps out, okay, and and especially with the dance community, it's usually the dance moms that are in the ticket booth. My mom was in the ticket booth a couple of times. This voice actress nailed it. Okay, I'm telling you right now. So it starts out pleasant. Okay, you first have Indy speak to the ticket booth lady, and she says the show is sold out, sir. And this is what I have to say. All those years of and all those mothers and even the dance studio owner's husband would be in there sometimes or somebody else. And the years of hearing about people who would make excuses to be let in once the show starts. Okay, once that show starts, you can't get in. The doors are locked. You can't get. I don't know why you seem to think that you have special treatment. You don't. Okay? It's just like, see, my brother and his wife are actors now. They are well known in the community as being in the play community, okay? And they they are so tired of having to deal with it. Okay? It's like the play starts. If you're late, it's too bad. Okay? It's should have come earlier. Okay? The world doesn't revolve around your time. Okay, we can't stop the thing in Oz. And but I love it because when you have Indy say, "Now wait," she the ticket booth lady shuts him down. No seats, no standing room, no exceptions. Done with it. It's over. Okay. No, you can't come in. I'm telling you, all those years of being in theater, okay? And my brother and his wife, same thing. whatever play they're in, they're still hearing about whoever has to deal with the ticket sales or whatever, and there's always that one dumbass who has to come up and they're like, "But I had car troubles." You know what? You can come tomorrow. S- I'm sorry. I sorry. Because if we were to let you in, then there would be those other people that we didn't let in that were going to be mad at us. Not only that, but any kind of sound or anything like that of opening up those large doors is going to be a distraction to the actors. No, damn. World does not revolve around you. Shit. And then if you didn't know, you could even click on the ticket booth and she will then say, "Come back next week." She's she's done with it. She's done. She's tired and it's now you can have Indy go if you did not know about this. You can have Indy go and you click on the doors and with such a so done attitude, the doors are locked, sir.
The doors are locked, sir.
I love doing that every time because I love hearing her voice. I'm telling you, the voice actress, whoever was the voice actress for that particular part, did it so well because of all my years in the theater. It's that attitude of just go away. Now, I have a little side note here because, okay, this is in 1939. Now, I'm not saying that psychics and seances and all of that stuff wasn't a thing in the 30s. I mean, they still were, but you also have to consider that the Depression was more of an issue than, seances and all that. I mean, in the Edwardian era and in the Victorian era, this kind of thing was big. Big. We've talked about it here on the channel. And I mean, I've even talked about how they had those pictures of the multiple, it would have one person and it was multiple, multiple shots. And basically they were at a table and it looked like it was one person doing a seance with themselves, that kind of thing. That was a popular thing. Yeah, I've talked about that. I don't remember what video it was, but the thing is that okay, so Sophia's doing this lecture. It basically is. It's a lecture that she's doing, and for the ticket booth lady to say, "Come back next week." So is she saying to come back next week to see Madame Sophia? Because usually something like this would be one up to 3 nights. Okay, so you would have this special guest come and it would be and especially for her, she's a renowned psychic, she's a famous psychic, and so it would run for maybe 3 nights. Okay. But to come back next week, how long is she there? She's not that famous. I'm sorry. No. Okay, I would expect that for maybe Buster Keaton or something like that. Yeah. In this at this time, yeah, have Vivian Lee over, to talk about I don't know, tips on acting or something. That would be, yeah. You know? And even then it would be 1 or 2 nights. Um, but also what I found interesting, and I don't know if this is a fluke on the actress part, all the theater workers are calling it a show, not a lecture, it's a show. Kind of like And I don't mean to be disrespectful or anything because people can believe what they want. I've always said that here. It sounds more like a fortune teller at a carnival kind of thing. It's kind of like they're making fun of it more than anything else. And so this is a show, like a vaudeville act almost. They're not taking it seriously. I would think that if they were serious about it, they would be calling it a lecture. I mean, she was on stage talking about "Here, my friends, is Atlanta." Yeah, she's and but that's not what's because it was a lecture, but it's a show, okay? Because the stagehand said it, Biff said it, and the ticket booth lady said it. So, uh, yeah, she, her outrageous oration. So let's let's move on to Biff. Okay, so he's a theater doorman, and he's dressed up in his tuxedo and everything. I'm guessing that before, when people were coming into the theater, he was out in front. Now he's moved to the back to make sure nobody sneaks in, like Indy tried to do. I do want to make a little uh observation here. He reminds me of the gorilla in at the club in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. When he says nice monkey suit. I'm sorry. Look, I like Biff. I really do. We all do. We've all done the same thing. We have all antagonized Biff to the point where we do the sucker punch. Okay, we've all done that, but we all like Biff. Okay, I think we can all agree on that. Now, he is backstage and he shuts down excuses. Okay, I looked at all the different excuses there is. So he said, Indy says that he's with the band, and he says Madame Sophia doesn't have a band. Uh, I'm the fire inspector. Do do you take me for some kind of moron? I'm here to fix the lights. There's nothing wrong with the light. I mean, he's adamant. Okay, he's not gonna let this guy in. However, he is. Okay. Unfortunately, yeah, he is gonna let Indy in. See, because Biff Biff likes Sophia Hapgood. Okay.
Oh, of course not. Madame Sophia is a serious thinker.
Don't kid around, pal. You're talking about my idol.
No kidding. I think she's the greatest.
Me too. There's something about her.
Yeah, she's very smart.
Smart, I'll say. You know what I really like? It's the way she...
The way she makes things easy to understand.
That's it. All that smart stuff seems so easy when I'm listening to her.
Sophia is his idol. Now, I was noticing something. All right. So he says that Sophia is his idol. Now, he says, "Don't kid around. You're talking about my idol." And if you notice, he's not attracted to her because of her looks. He loves the fact that she's smart and makes things so easy to understand. And he says, all that smart stuff is so easy when I'm listening to her. It's so easy to understand when I'm listening to her. And, here she is. She's talking about Atlantis and the fall of Atlantis and Nuripsal and, that. And so my question is it possible that he's extremely starry-eyed over working next to a famous psychic, because I have a feeling that he has no clue what it is she's talking about, or even what, the kind of thing of like a psychic or anything. She could say, yeah, Neurobcell guides my thoughts. Is that your boyfriend? I mean, Biff just seems like the kind of guy that's yeah. You know, I'm sorry. Look, it seems like that. I mean, as soon as instead of insulting Biff and calling him a Darwinian nightmare and all of that stuff, when you start saying, "No kidding, I think she's the greatest," and it just switches, and he's like, "Me too. There's something about her." It's like so I really do think that if she were to sit there and just talk about Nurabsal guiding her thoughts and just continuously talk about Nurabsal, he would start getting jealous because he would think that that was her, like a husband or boyfriend or something. Yeah. Um, but we all like Biff. Biff is just misunderstood. I do appreciate because yeah, like I said, if you notice, he is not attracted to her looks at all. It's not like he's drooling over how attractive she is or anything like that. When he says that she's his idol, it's because she is very smart. He really does think that she's very smart, and I can appreciate that. And so, yeah, Biff's a nice guy. Now, moving on to the stagehand. Okay, so you have this backstage stagehand. Okay, which I want to point something out. Where are the other stagehands? Look, again, all those years in theater, it's a madhouse backstage. Anybody else who has worked in theater will tell you that it's chaos backstage. There's like 1,000 people back there. And if you look, I'll put a picture up, and on the other side, there is nobody there. Okay, are you trying to tell me that Biff and this stagehand and the ticket lady are the people working this theater? Like, is that why Kerner was able to get in and ransack? Yeah, I want to know how it is that Kerner was able to get it. Was he able to get in through the fire escape? Oh my gosh. Okay, so this backstage stagehand that you notice, it's funny because if you he doesn't talk to you at first, but if you try to go across the stage, he will say, I actually like going across the stage. So there's two different ways to do this actually, is you just go right up to him and try talking to him. And he says, "Hey, you must be the new doorman." Or you try walking across the stage and he says, "Hold on."
Excuse me.
Aha! You must be the new doorman. About time they got rid of Biff. He was such a pushover.
And So yeah, he thinks that you're the new doorman when he first introduces, and I'm not sure why when you walk across he would think that you're the new doorman. I mean, does Biff do that all the time? That's what I want to see. Okay, I want. In fact, I think at one point, uh, because I thought it was Biff, but I think it's him that calls. Uh, I think it's this old man that calls her a goddess at one point, but I don't remember why. However, he does not like Biff, calls him a pushover. And he also mentions that show business is his whole life. Now, this is set in 1939. Okay, we've established that. And so Indiana is 40 years old here, and by the look of this old guy, the fact that he's like he's got the stooped shoulders and everything, and the bald head, the shiny top. I would say that he probably started doing this maybe in the 19s in the Edwardian early, like maybe 1912, somewhere in there, because that would be 30 years, just reaching 30 years ago. And if show business is his whole life, it could be that he was one of those kids that snuck into theaters. Just saying. And because if he started working in a theater in 1900, I mean, that would have been around 40 years ago, somewhere in there. And I don't think that he's that old. But whatever. Uh, I think that he's 30 years. Yeah. I would put it around 30 years. And but he says he loves running the ghost out, that particular little ghost out. Says it's a big moment. Yeah, big moment. Caught fire. Now, he when you get to talking to him, there's a moment where you say that the lectures bore him stiff. Indy's the only one that calls it a lecture. And this guy says he goes, these lectures bore me stiff, and this fella says, me too, to tell you the truth. So, and it's funny because every time it cuts to her talking about whatever it is, he goes, isn't she something? She could go on for hours. The woman never stops. I've been through this 100 times. Yeah. And Indy's probably like, I know. Yeah. One of his hobbies is reading, of course. He takes a newspaper, and he also loves baseball because he decides to leave his position to find out if the Brooklyn Dodgers won. And I did have to check that because it turns out that the Brooklyn Dodgers became the LA Dodgers in the 1950s. I believe 1955 was the 55 or 56. It was the 50s. Okay. Um, it's just funny to me that he talked like he loved um sending that ghost out there, and then he just abandons the whole idea. Like, it's like, no, I'm good. I got to find out about those Brooklyn Dodgers. That's more important right now. But if you try to go out on stage before sending that ghost out, he'll come out and he'll say, "Hey, I still got my eye on you." I wonder how often, yeah, wonder if he had to do that with Biff. Stop going out there. Poor Biff. And where was he when Indy started pushing buttons and levers and everything so that that thing went out? Indy's just used the power of moving his jacket so he'll never see. Oh my gosh. I did write here, because I mentioned the stagehand, where were the other stagehands and all the other people, and because they animated people in the seats, so you would think that across the way they would animate people on the other side of the stage. Because you see Sophia behind the podium, so right behind her there could have been people there, but they didn't do that. So I happened to mention that on the submarine, when you end up on the submarine, you see sailors all over the place. So, yeah, you could have done something here. Come on now. And and so, but yeah, I think we should have gotten more with should have seen Biff and the stagehand fight. Biff Biff going out on stage. Everything. Maybe he was knocked out by Kerner. We'll never know. Yeah, because of the whole thing with Kerner going in the. Why did he go in there? It just doesn't make sense to me. Oh, Lordy. Because honestly, he only used that one uh orichalcum bead, the one that he already stole. And did he really go in there for the necklace? And okay. And to honestly, I guess the necklace thing kind of defeats well, like I was saying before, did she use the necklace for her lecture? I guess that kind of defeats the purpose when she's using this transparent ghost thing. Yeah, I don't know. Where did she get orichalcum? Where was it lying around? Anyway, okay, so let's look at the next person that we're going to look at, because of course after the ghost thing goes across the stage and they find the ransacked office, they decide to meet up with Bjorn Heimdall, which is okay. We all know who Heimdall is now that the Marvel movies have come out. Of course, Heimdall is part of mythology. Bjorn, I think it's Bjorn Ironside. I'll have to check that. I don't think I have it up anymore. No, I don't. Um, but Bjorn is part of a legend. It's part of Norse legend, and I think it's Ironside. Anyway, I'll double check that and put it in the description box. Uh, because originally I thought that Bjorn was part of mythology, but it's actually legend. And of course, Heimdall is actual mythology. Anyway, so apparently Bjorn Heimdall is this guy is a crackpot. He really this guy needs to be put away. Of course, we all know what actually happens to him, those of us that have played the game. So he takes over the dig site in Iceland, which was the Jastro expedition that Indy and Sophia were a part of. And now Indy sees him and says,
Not feeling very friendly today, are we?
I like solitude. It helps me think.
I thought you were digging up Norse graves in Denmark.
I was. Obviously now I'm not.
I thought you were digging up Norse graves in Denmark. And he says, I was. Obviously now I'm not. Is he in hiding? 'Cause I'm sorry, are we just going to overlook the fact that he was digging up what in the Valhalla? Come on. What are you doing? Digging up Norse graves in Denmark? I'm sorry. I really do think that this this guy and the way that he said this, he's like, don't question what I'm doing. Yeah, you're desecrating graves. What the hell? I will question. And I really do believe that he was in hiding. The reason that he was in that ice cave is so that they can't find him. I mean, for all we know, in Iceland, that Jastro expedition dig site was pretty much abandoned. Nobody else seemed to be there. Now, okay, so then he goes into this whole thing about the secret of Hyperborea. He says that's what the Greeks called Iceland, you know. No, it's not. Okay. No, it isn't. All right. All right. So he talks about how they sailed to a fog-shrouded land and never set foot upon it. Fog wouldn't turn them back. Some think that they were repelled by ghosts. There was a force field put here by beings not of this earth. And then he goes into this whole spaceport thing. All right. Hyperborea. In Greek mythology, the Hyperboreans, I have it right here and I'll put it in the description box for you, were a mythical people who lived, I'm sorry, who lived in the far northern part of the known world. Their name appears to derive from the Greek beyond Boreas. Now, Boreas was the god of the north wind. Okay. Some scholars prefer okay. So, yeah, they're just talking about the spelling of it. Now, as for the location, when you look at the location, it has moved so many different times. Hyperboreans were believed to live beyond the snowy uh Riphean Mountains, which Eurasia is in the UK. It's in modern day Britain, Scandinavia, or Siberia. That's what it was. I'm sorry. And describing the locations as the land of the Hyperboreans, men living beyond the home of Boreas. Okay. Homer placed Boreas in Thrace. Thrace is the historical region in southeast Europe, roughly corresponding to the province of Thrace in the Roman Empire. Therefore, the Hyperborea was, in his opinion, north of Thrace in Dacia. Sophocles, okay, so a lot of these different ancient philosophers were trying to decide. In fact, a lot of these places, it just changed around. In fact, I saw in one the Ural Mountains, which is in Russia, isn't it? That run north south mostly through Russia. Yeah. So I- now the other thing is that it says despite their location in an otherwise frigid part of the world, the Hyperboreans were believed to inhabit a sunny temperate, and divinely blessed land. In many versions of the story, they lived, north of the Riphean Mountains, which shielded them from effects of the cold north wind. The oldest myths portray them as the favorites of Apollo, and some ancient Greek writers regarded the Hyperboreans as the mythical founders of the Apollo's shrines at Delos and Delphi. So, sorry, the mythology side of me really had to come out on that one because but you know what? It fits Heimdall's character because Heimdall is a nutcase. He's an absolute nutcase, and I really do believe that with this, George Lucas did in fact, or LucasArts, whatever you want to call it, did in fact do the research on Hyperborea and then just decide to give this character, just made the character ramble on about nothing. Because, dude, the guy was digging up Norse graves in Denmark. I'm sorry, I can't let that go. But so, and I'll put more information about Hyperborea and the Hyperboreans and everything. I mean, and everything. I it it floors me, and so because despite being cold, they're actually believed to inhabit sunny temperate zones. But that's what the Greeks called Iceland, you know. Sure. Sure, buddy. Now, when he's asked about uh the dialogue of Plato, he says he mentions Sternhart, Charles Sternhart, and he calls him shady but clever. He also says he claims to have translated the book. Claim, okay. And Philip Costa, he calls a farce researcher, but a sharp trader. Um, Now, another thing is Indiana asks him if he completely discounts the supernatural, and he goes, completely. And then when it comes to the bronze eel, he calls it a homing beacon for spaceships. Now, if you continue to click on that, he will call it other things for spaceships and aliens. The dude is out of his mind. And the other thing that I want to point out is that if you just immediately go into asking about the lost dialogue of Plato, he will say, goodbye, leave me alone, after mentioning that. But if you cater to his whole Hyperborea nonsense, he will say, good luck, fellow believer. So he thinks that because you listen to his ramblings, you you believe that. Of course, you leave the ice cave and you say he's got frostbite of the brain, and she's Sophia's right along. Yeah, spaceport my eye. What is going on? Yeah, I'm telling you, the authorities need to be called on him because digging up Norse graves, excuse me. Yeah. Oh, the Vikings got their revenge because we all know what happened to him. Yeah. Okay. So now we look at Charles Sternhardt, who proudly tells you Charles Sternhardt, PhD, independent thinker, researcher, and merchant. Uh, yeah. Hey, there we go. Now, when he shows up, he is, of course, dressed in this safari outfit, okay? Which would seem to work, it seemed to fit for Tikal, okay? But the voice actor for him, okay, pretty much nails the impression of uh an actor named Terry Thomas. Okay, Terry Thomas, I will put a picture up, was in the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. I don't think I did enough mads, but ultimate classic. I mean, this if you've never seen the movie, I highly recommend it. But Terry Thomas is in this movie and he does in fact where I'll actually find a clip from this with Terry Thomas. And I mean, there are a lot of celebrity cameos in this and from the day. There have been people that said that Rat Race is a remake of It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Yes and no. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cameos and a lot of celebrities in Rat Race, but Rat Race stands on its own. Okay. They are their own movies in so many different ways. And I mean, yeah, I like both for their own reasons. But to be honest, I like Mad, 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 Mad World a lot more. But um, I'm going off track here. So the thing is that whoever did the voice acting for Charles Sternhardt, he does sound like Terry Thomas. He really does. And so in the movie, Terry Thomas does dress in the safari outfit and everything. Terry Thomas, I think, also voiced Sir Hiss in in the animated Robin Hood in the Disney animated movie. I'll have to check that. I will check and everything. But you really hear it in Mad Mad World. So now with that said, I really wanted to point that out because so here's the thing is you're standing in front of the temple, you know, Indy and Sophia are standing in front of the temple and you click on the temple and he says that it's the temple is a monument to the genius of the Mayans. Well, then Charles Sternhardt appears and says that
I'm hoping to find some evidence of Atlantis here.
Evidence is easy. You're surrounded by it. Proof? Now that's hard.
Does that mean we came to the wrong place?
I've pretty much lost hope myself, but old legends and rumors die hard.
What kind of rumors?
Local legend has it that the temple was built by men who are not men.
What are men who are not men?
Who knows? I've heard everything from giant men with snakes for tails to giant snakes with men for heads.
evidence of Atlantis is everywhere. You're surrounded by it. So, what? And then he immediately says, proof. Now that's hard to find. I would say, what are you saying, sir? Uh, okay. Sternhardt is an interesting character because he talks about how local legend says that the temple was built by men who are not men. You know, giant men with snakes for tails or giant snakes with men for heads. And then there's another time where he says that
What can you tell us about the temple?
Rumors have it that the temple was built by survivors of Atlantis.
That survivors of Atlantis built the temple. So, but you said that the temple was built by men who are not men. Okay. Now, he also believes that after Atlantis sank, the residents traveled to Tikal. Okay. Um, what about if you remember when they're looking at the okay. So Indy and Sophia are looking at the Lost Dialogue of Plato, and they said that it's in the Mediterranean, right? So, they're deciding that it is in the. Are you trying to tell me that all of these Atlanteans hightailed it all the way over? How did it? This guy's a dumbass. But he's a PhD. I mean, I love the fact, look, I call him a dumbass, but this- he cracks me up because he will stand there and brag. He's like, well, I'm the one who translated it. I can tell you that. It's like, good for you. But you obviously don't know what it is you translated, you pinhead. What is, and he forgets the very thing that he's talking about because when he's talking about the temple, according to local legend, the temple was built by men who are not men, but the survivors of Atlantis built it. It's like, you are all over the place, dude. What are you talking about? He and Heimdall are in competition of how much of an idiot they can be with rambling on. I mean, Heimdall is talking about Hyperborea and spaceports. Sternhardt is talking about these giant men with snakes for tails. It's just, how about I have a theory here. Okay, Sternhardt, here's now I'm new to this, but what do the murals say? You know, I don't remember who it was. They were reacting to a movie. I think it was a Congo. And he said that there's always that person. They always end up in a temple somewhere. And there's always that one idiot that all of a sudden he's the smartest person in the room because all of a sudden he can read these hieroglyphs. And he's not wrong because in Congo, the guy who was, helping Amy translate, back and forth, learning the sign language and everything with her, all that stuff. All of a sudden, they go into this temple and he knows all of what it's saying, all the hieroglyphs and everything. It was once said in local legend. It's like, what the hell? What are you pulling out of your ass? Look, I absolutely love the movie Operation Dumbo Drop. Love it, love it. Okay. But when did Lynn, the kid that is with Botat, okay, the elephant, when did he learn those glyphs? Because they go into this, they're in these for. these old temples, these old forgotten temples, and he's like, it's said a long time ago. And it's like, when? When did you learn this, Lynn? Now, in Jungle Book, in the 1994 Jungle Book, that makes more sense. Okay, there are those old forgotten temples and everything, but Mowgli is running around all over creation. Of course, he's gonna know what those are. That makes more sense. Gosh. I mean, what is Sternheart doing all day? I would think that all those temples have like the murals everywhere and these glyphs every. What do you do with your time? Damn it, man! What is your PhD in? Dumbassery? Oh gosh, what are you researching? Giants, giant snakes with men for heads. That's what I'm researching. Gosh. So he says that he will only show the temple to honorable scholars, the reputable scholars. That's the big word that he uses. He also says that the temple isn't safe, but I mean, after Indy figures out the name, he says that it's the Hermocrates and everything. I'm telling you right now, Sternhardt had to see him talking to that damn bird. He was standing right there. There is no way that he didn't see Indy talking to that bird, saying, "Title, Hermocrates." Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. So he takes him into this unsafe temple and you ask him about the temple. He said, "What is this chamber for?" I don't know. I don't know what it's for. Damn it, man. Again, what do you do with your time? And within Indy's able to find a tomb. And the guy is shocked. Like, wow, how did you do that? For my next magical trick. Eh, Well, and the thing that I get it, it's the fate of Atlantis, but what gets me is that he immediately decides that it's the tomb of an Atlantean king. It's Tikal. Okay. Okay. Let's just look at this logically. Okay. Let's just calm down. Okay. You're in Tikal. You remember those remember the Mayans? Yeah, remember them? Okay. Yeah. How is it that all of a sudden Atlantis is all over the place? Like, what is this? Okay. Uh, I mean, what markings are there that says that this is Atlantis? So he finds this world stone. Okay. The markings on that world stone are a temple, the sea, and a volcano. I'm sorry, but that could easily be that could easily be from the Mayans. They have that too. They have a volcano, they have temples. They dealt with okay, whatever. Yeah, sure. Sure, bud. It's immediately Mediterranean. He just immediately pulled that out of his ass. I believe it's a world stone. Yeah, you're getting ahead of yourself, bud. And then he leaves him there in this unsafe temple. This is the worst tour guide ever. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, we're not finished. Because this dude apparently translated that book and forgot everything that he translated. Okay. So he goes off. Goodbye, fellow seekers. One stone is not enough. Where, okay. I do remember talking about this when I reacted to my gameplay. I remember saying, how many of those stones were manufactured? Because it seems like everybody has one. I mean, holy shit. Um, Now, when you find him, okay, because you do come across him again. Yeah, sad face when you do. But like, how did he get in? Okay, because when you got in to the labyrinth, you needed all three stones. How did? Or no, you only needed two for that one, right? Yeah, you only needed two. And how did he get in? The dude translated the damn thing, and he needed the sunstone and the moonstone, and he didn't have either one. He just had what is going on? Now, the other thing is that, okay, he again translated this thing and it talked about the orichalcum detector. Now, the amberfish on a string, okay, fair enough. Because then there was his own, when he tried to make a makeshift one, he didn't have all the supplies. But so he didn't have all the pieces. He didn't think he had all the pieces, but why didn't he search the area and find the chain behind the water? Why even go on a trip so unprepared? Like, are you that desperate to find Atlantis that you I mean, he didn't have enough food. He didn't have all the supplies or information. He didn't even plan an escape route or anything like that. No, he just figured that he was. Oh, geez, what an idiot! But he has a PhD. He didn't research shit to get this. And I think that's the one time that Bjorn Heimdall was right because he said that Charles Sternhardt claimed to have translated. Now, if he had actually translated, he would not have ended up where he did. Okay, he would have found the Moonstone and Sunstone and actually, he would have found Atlantis before everybody else. But no, dude's a dumbass. Okay, okay, yeah, okay. So the last person we're going to look at, because like I said, we're only looking at everybody that shows up in the what I call the introduction before you break off into whatever path you decide to choose. We're going to look at Philippe Costa. Ah, yes, Philippe Costa. Now, he's a researcher and artifact collector, or, he's as a researcher, he's a farce, but a sharp trader. Nah, he's an artifact collector. Now, he believes that the Azores are what remains of Atlantis. You know, when you start off with Indiana Jones and you talk to Costa and you talk about how you're trying to find Atlantis, he will tell you that the Azores are what remains of Atlantis. And then he gets mad because he thinks that you don't believe him. And now Costa is an old fella. I mean, he's this old guy, but man, is he a flirt. He he thinks he's still got it because once Sophia is in charge of talking to Costa and he sees her, well, hello, beautiful. Yeah, earlier he told Indy to just kick rocks and just leave. All right. And when she introduces herself as, Madam Sophia, I'm Sophia Hapgood, and he's like, Madam Sophia, the renowned. I mean, he's even more willing to help once he finds out exactly who she is. Okay. Now again in my notes, I said he really wanted her necklace, and of course that switches over to getting the trade with Indy. And I think we pretty much established that she doesn't use the necklace in her lecture because why else would she need the little ghost thing to travel back and forth? Besides, where would she get the orichalcum? I mean, she had like one bead in her desk. Yeah. Um, but yeah, because I have this here in my notes. So I think we pretty much established that. Now, Costa is he tolerates Indy pretty much after finding out uh that Sophia is associated with Indy to to make the trade, and he says, "Nice doing business with you. Don't be a stranger to." I mean, like once he figures out that you are someone that he can trade with, sounds like because like he said, "Don't be a stranger now." Pretty much translates to bring more junk and the girl. You know, it's like, yeah. Uh, yeah, that's now a little side note here is, of course, if you didn't know, there are comics. I actually have one. I think there's three altogether, but I only have one that I was able to find. And in the comic series, Professor Costa is replaced with a character named Rodrigo. So I have that here. And so let's look at that real quick. So Rodrigo was a hermit that lived on a desolate island in the Azores. While looking for Atlantean artifacts, Indiana Jones and Sophia Hapgood returned to the Azores where they had been years ago during the Jastra expedition. So it turns out that in the comic series, the Jastra expedition was on the Azores island, uh, not Iceland. I'm wondering why they would change that. Of course, they usually change stuff like that in comic series all the time. Yeah, things are changed back and forth all the time. Now it says that Indy initially asked him if he could show the Atlantean artifacts, but could not communicate with him. On the other hand, Sophia went very well with her ways, and Rodrigo guided them in a cave where Jastro kept several items for his personal collection. Let's check this really quick. So Jastro, oh, it talks about, okay. So Jastro is an archaeologist, led the expedition to Iceland sponsored by Barnett College. The excavation uncovered many mysterious artifacts. Indiana Jones, a member of Jastro's team on his first real job. He says that, of course, in the game, would later recall the senior archaeologist as sloppy and a braggart. Wow, Indy, as if you're not one of those. After the Iceland expedition, Jastrow went to the Azores and found more Atlantean artifacts, but hid them in a cave near Horta. Okay. So that's kind of the blurred effect. I'm wondering if that's why Costa thinks that, maybe he's kind of senile and that's why he thinks that Atlantis is the Azores. So, well, Indiana Jones' The Fate of Atlantis mentions the Jastrow excavation by this name. The meaning and its origin are not explained. Jastrow is a minor community in California. The comic book adaptation reveals that Jastrow was a person and some slight background is given about him. Um, well, that makes sense. I mean, George Lucas would always take things from from where he lived. So anyway, that gives a little more background to the Jastrow expedition. I'll put that in the description box and everything. But in closing, um, uh, I pretty much wanted to do a breakdown of characters. I hope I did okay. I mean, I plan to do a second half for the other characters that I didn't touch on for Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. This is pretty much to help me when I decide to start looking at the Legend of Zelda characters, not all of them, trust me, not all of them, because there's way too many. But no, mainly I just want to do something fun, and hopefully this is fun. Kind of. Anyway, let me know what you think, and I will close up here.